Football is just 5 days away, and we are here to do the NFL record predictions for every single NFL team. Today, we are going to do the AFC South to finish off the AFC. Starting it off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, week one, they have a trip to Indianapolis, and I'll have them winning that game. Then they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Then they beat the Houston Texans. Then they beat the Atlanta Falcons. Then they beat the Buffalo Bills. Then they beat the Indianapolis Colts again, so they'll sweep the Colts. Then they'll lose to the New Orleans Saints. They'll win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then they have a bye week. Then they'll lose to the San Francisco 49ers. They'll lose to the Tennessee Titans. They'll win against the Houston Texans, so they're also sweeping the Texans. Then they win against the Cincinnati Bengals. Then they win against the Cleveland Browns. Then they win against the Baltimore Ravens. Then they win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they lose to the Carolina Panthers. And then they finish it off. They'll lose to the Tennessee Titans. They'll get swept by the Tennessee Titans, which will give them a 12-5 record for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that'll do it for the Jaguars. The next team will be the Tennessee Titans. So week one, they go to New Orleans to face Derek Carr and the Saints, and they'll get a loss. Then they lose to the Los Angeles Chargers. Then they win against the Cleveland Browns. Then they win against the Cincinnati Bengals. They win against the Indianapolis Colts. They win against the Baltimore Ravens. They win against the Atlanta Falcons. They lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They win against the Carolina Panthers. They lose to the Indianapolis Colts. They lose to the Miami Dolphins. They lose to the Houston Texans. They win against the Seattle Seahawks. And then they win against the Houston Texans. And then they win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which will give them a 10-7 record for the Tennessee Titans. All right, next team will be the Indianapolis Colts. Week one, they lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose to the Houston Texans. They lose to the Baltimore Ravens. They win against the LA Rams. They lose to the Tennessee Titans. They lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose to the Cleveland Browns. They beat the New Orleans Saints. They beat the Carolina Panthers. They lose to the New England Patriots in Germany. Then they go on a bye week. Then they come off the bye week and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They beat the Tennessee Titans. They lose to the Cincinnati Bengals. They win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose to the Atlanta Falcons. They lose to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then they finish it off with a win against the Houston Texans, which will give them a 7-10 record for the Indianapolis Colts. And now, to finish off this video, we will be doing the Houston Texans. So week one, they have the Baltimore Ravens and they lose. Then they win against the Indianapolis Colts. They lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose to the Atlanta Falcons. But then they win against the New Orleans Saints. They lose to the Carolina Panthers coming off the bye week. Then they win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, but then they lose to the Arizona Cardinals. Then they lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose to the Denver Broncos. They lose to the New York Jets. But then they win against the Tennessee Titans. And then they win again against the Cleveland Browns. So they're on a 2-game win streak there. But then they lose to the Tennessee Titans. And then they lose to the Indianapolis Colts 2-game losing streak to end the season, and end with a 5-12 record for the Houston Texans. So there you guys have it, my AFC South predictions, and these are the standings for the AFC South. In first place, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars with a 12-5 record. Then we have the Tennessee Titans with a 10-7 record. The Indianapolis Colts in third place with a 7-10 record. And then finishing it off, the division with a 5-12 record. Yep, and there you guys have it, the AFC South. And that'll do it for the AFC divisions. Next up tomorrow, we will do the NFC divisions. I don't know which one yet, but we'll find out in the next video. See you guys then. Peace.